Um, when it comes to bhakti or devotion or love, we make an exception.
Okay.
It's still, the reason we make an exception is because the nature of ourself, and the thing is, I say the reason, it's if you're on the path of love, path of bhakti, then you don't need a reason. You know, you're just following the love. But I can give you a reason for the mind, and the reason is that our true self, the nature of our self is love. So when we have love for Guru, and the nature of the Guru is ourself. So it's a unique kind of object. When we feel, but you're right, it's external. All these things, whether it's the breath, or whether it's the name and form of a Guru, they all lead us to self-inquiry.
I have seen Bhakti working very well in friends. I just can't turn it. I can't throw a switch and turn it on.
You can't teach Bhakti. You can't teach faith. You can't teach devotion. You can't teach Bhakti. It either comes to you or it doesn't. That's the way it is. And for many, many years, I had no sense of faith or devotion. None. Or maybe I did have some, but I wouldn't have recognized it as being faith or devotion. Because the essence of faith and devotion is your being. It's the love inside you. So it's not like a belief in a creed. You know, when people believe in a creed or they believe in a dogma, they may not call it a dogma. They might believe in something, a set of values or a set of concepts, a set of ideals or something. Maybe a religious framework of some kind. That's not what I'm talking about when I say faith. Faith for me is like a seeing of God's presence and your presence together somehow. And with that there comes a sense of trust or knowingness that everything is okay. Sense of knowing that on some level everything is okay. And this fills you with happiness and love. But it's not something we can easily teach. There are some things that can be taught, though. And is it William? Is that right?
Yes. What Bill?
Bill, I don't know why I think our paths have crossed before, haven't they, in some way? Or maybe on Facebook or something.
Probably, Bill or William, same thing.
I think I've seen you as a Bill somewhere, that's why I'm thinking that.
Yeah. That's fine.
What was I saying? Yes. What can be taught, which is a way in to faith and love, is something more secular, which is gratitude. Gratitude is something, whether or not you have any belief in God or Guru or any of that stuff, which for many people is just a load of superstitious nonsense. I say that as somebody who used to think of that stuff as being superstitious nonsense. You know? So I feel empathy to where you are if you don't have that kind of sense. But one thing you can cultivate is gratitude. And you can have gratitude to life. You can feel thankful to life and gratitude to the universe. And you can also feel a sense of awe or wonder. Now these things, gratitude, awe, wonder, inspiration, creativity, these sorts of things are like reflections reflections, let's say, or shadows even, of bhakti, devotion. And as we open ourselves up to these reflections or shadows of bhakti, it can stir something within us, and it can pave the way for a greater flower of bhakti, of devotion, of love, of divine feeling to grow. And it's also, you see, it's a way out of the mind. So if you don't have any sense of love or devotion or bhakti or faith, that's fine. Don't worry. There's nothing wrong with you. Especially if you see everyone else now and they've all got this stuff going on, they've got their bhakti going on and they seem so happy in their bhakti, in their devotion and love. And you don't have that. That's what it was like for me as a child, often, going to, we used to go to church on Sundays and seeing everybody in love with Jesus and things. It was, I was brought up in a Hindu family, but we used to also go to church sometimes. And on the Hindu side of the family, most of the Hindus that we knew, from our community, as it were, they were intellectual types. They were cultural Hindus, but they were scientists and intellectuals. So it didn't feel too religious. There wasn't that much. There was very little superstition. It was more of a cultural thing. But in the churches I went to, I saw this bhakti, essentially, devotion, and I didn't have any of it. I didn't understand it, and I felt jealous as well, because I felt they had they were drawing some kind of strength from this that I couldn't draw, and I couldn't draw from that place. But I could also see that a lot of them were very deeply damaged. A lot of them had been through some very, very hard times. And I felt like that's maybe why they were able to, or if they maybe had to lean on a God or that kind of thing. But to go back to what we were talking about, yes, just to take the time to feel gratitude. Lots of gratitude, as much as you're able to. Have a gratitude practice. Allow yourself to feel love. The loving kindness practice, the Buddhist loving kindness practice. Have you done that before? Metta, it's called. The thing about the Buddhist practices is they don't invoke a god, especially these sort of early Buddhist teachings. They don't even really pay there is gratitude towards the Buddha because he gave the teachings, but it's not like overly emphasized, like in the way I emphasize it with Ramana, for example. I glorify him as a deity, but they don't often do that so much in Buddhism always, although they do as well sometimes. But there's a loving kindness practice. I don't know if you've come across it, and the way it's traditionally taught is that first you feel loving kindness to yourself. You say, "May I be happy and well," things like this. May I be happy and well. And then you feel loving kindness to the people around you, your loved ones. So maybe family members, people dear to you. You say, you imagine them, you say, "May they all be happy and well. May they all be happy and well." And you send them your love. And then you go like concentric circles, and you step one further, a concentric circle away. And it's not just your loved ones, but maybe the people you know. You don't really know them that well, your acquaintances. And then you picture all these acquaintances you might meet and might know, maybe office colleagues or people you see at the bus stop or whatever it is. And then you send them, you say, "May they all be happy and well." And you wish them well. You give them love. And then your whole, maybe your whole, the whole of Vancouver, and then the whole of Washington State, and then the whole of the United States, and then the whole of the Americas, and then the whole planet, and then the whole universe, you see. This is traditionally the way it's done. Now, what some Buddhists have noted is that in the West, when they teach you that way, there's one big problem, and that's that first step. In
Exactly.
Typically, what happens in the East, as it were, in Asia, you start off doing the easiest thing, which is to love yourself. And in the West, when these teachings came over to the West, the monks who used to teach this teaching, they realized a lot of the Westerners, they can't do that first step. The thing that's easiest for them to love is their loved ones around them. So what you can do, you can take that first step, and only once you've given love to the whole universe, then finally you can actually give love to yourself. You know, you might have then opened yourself enough to finally be able to love yourself. So whichever way around you want to do it. So it can be very powerful to imagine someone you love and feel love for them. That will create a warm, loving feeling inside of you. And then to hold on to that feeling, let the image of the person you love go, and then imagine other people and having that same feeling towards others. And you can cultivate this. This is a beautiful, powerful, wonderful inferior practice. You may realize these inferior practices are actually very wonderful. You know, there's nothing to be. We do not look down at the so-called inferior practices. They're very, very important. And maybe inferior is the wrong word. Maybe we can call them the primary practices. You know, like in the UK, we have an education system, and we have primary school, secondary school. You know, but maybe we can call it the foundation. Maybe that's less than pejorative. It's not the degree level. You know, it's not. You're not going to graduate having just gone to primary school. I think in the US you call it elementary school, elementary, primary. They both mean the same thing. The words mean essentially the same thing. It's not the high school, is it? The highest. High school, that's your higher. It's your elementary. But elementary is very important. In spirituality, it's slightly different because some rare souls can bypass elementary. I guess the same is in schooling as well, isn't it? You get some rare souls who can bypass elementary for some subjects. Go straight to the higher education. They're in university. They're getting their degree. They're doing their postgrad studies. They're 9 years old, you know. So, yeah, this is the way we can see it. We can see it as foundational practices. So rather than analyzing, which is mind stuff, the idea is to get into a feeling state, happiness, love, gratitude, because this is closer to your true self. And maybe you'll get those Bhakti juices flowing, because the devotional impulse is there in all of us. It's there. Some of us it's buried deep, and some of us it's less buried. So give it a go. With these inferior practices, you can practice them. So what I mean by that is that you can cultivate them, meaning that the more you do it, the better you get at it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can practice it. You can train yourself, and you can open up yourself emotionally on a heart level. Very important. Otherwise, we just end up in here. And when you end up in here, the suffering doesn't end. It doesn't end. You might be very clever. You might have all the right teachings. You might know all the stuff. Yeah. You might be able to, answer all the questions and give cutting responses. But the suffering doesn't end.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for wholeness. We're looking for total love and happiness. Bliss. That's what we're looking for. So open yourself up to it.